What's going on, everyone? It's Mitch from RespectMyRegion.com coming in with the 41st episode of the Morning Joint. Excuse the stutter there, getting back from MJ Biz Con, a little bit, you know, not caught up on sleep yet. I'm seeing everyone's comments saying they crashed for 13 hours, for 12 hours, for 16 hours. I came home on Friday straight into dad mode, straight into dad and work mode. And I've been getting my cool little 7 hours a night. I think that might be the most I maxed out so far, but I'm feeling like I need a 13 to 16 hour, date with the bed to fully get caught up. But we got to grind, man. So I know there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of chat on LinkedIn, both good and bad, about MJ Biz Con, leading up to MJ Biz Con and then post MJ Biz Con. There's a fair amount of doom and gloom in the industry right now. So a lot of people thought are always speaking on anytime there's a big event like that, cultivators that are busy in the grow, operators that are busy hands-on with the business are always, some of them share thoughts of like, hey, I'm so busy, I got to work, I can't go out there and do that. And I totally understand that. It's a tough time in the industry right now, especially. So you got to have all hands on deck. But I love MJ BizCon for the simple fact that it's at the end of the year. It is a congregation of cannabis industry professionals from all over the country. We've been on the North American Weed Tour the last 3 months. And so I've been traveling the country all year round, especially this last quarter. The end of quarter 3 and then quarter 4, Joey and myself have really been everywhere. New York, Phoenix, Massachusetts, Toronto, BC, California, Oregon, Washington. We've got representatives in Colorado, Maine, and we've been to Maine. We've been all over the map. So it was awesome to go to one place where people from all of the different travels, all the different markets we went to, all kind of were in one place. Obviously not everybody that we met along those, but there's very few places where I can be, whether it's on the convention floor, an after party, or simply at the Chandelier Bar. I could be talking to someone. I see someone across the bar that I know from Massachusetts, someone to my left that I know from Florida, and then I'm getting tapped on the shoulder from someone back home. So very rarely am I in those situations. And I like that. It's not just all about, partying and doing this. I like the exchanges of ideas, the exchanges of information, talking about what inspires us, what challenges we're facing, what successes we're seeing, whether it's internally or just observations in the marketplace. One of my favorite things about weed back in the day, I had a couch and a coffee table in my garage, and that was where I smoked. And it was always a small cipher, and we all just share thoughts, ideas, whether it's passion, fear, hopes, optimistic, pessimistic. It doesn't really matter. This kind of, sharing of ideas and thoughts without worrying about being judged. I think that's something that we've all enjoyed from the consumption of cannabis. That's a big part about cannabis. And so being able to partake in that similar aspect when it pertains to the industry is something that I truly cherish and value. And so it was great talking to people, again, from all over the country, seeing these markets, some of these West Coast markets that are getting beat up with the oversupply and the things that are going on there, and talking to people in Illinois where there's a lot of craft and minority operators that are trying to battle against incredibly well-funded companies, to Massachusetts, where there's a little bit of both. The oversupply is coming, and there is that social equity and craft fighting against these large-scale companies. So there's multiple different conversations going on, and again, some of it inspires me, some of it, some of the stuff that's even challenging inspires me. So I personally just like having those conversations. So I wrote an article last night. I got to really shout out Rochelle Gordon, man. I'm going to give flowers where flowers are due. Man, Rochelle had the recap article up on like Friday or Saturday. I don't know. She was just bang with it. And I was sitting there thinking, I'm going to write this thing on the plane ride home, and I'll be one of the first. I know I made my piece maybe not being the first, but Rochelle was the first recap I saw. So I really just got to tip my hat, because I understand to go to an event like this, to put all that work in, to go to as many events, have as many conversations, all the thoughts that you have in your head, to sit down and then convey that to a piece of paper. There's a lot of thoughts, and it takes a lot to convey that on paper. So to get that done, edited, and out, I know that process intimately. And so I really just got to give her a shout out, because dang, she was on it. So we got the recap dropping Monday. She was before the weekend even started. She was already up and out, and it was a great recap. It's better than mine too. Again, I'll give flowers where flowers are deserved. But our recap is up. We interviewed 10 cannabis industry professionals on the floor on Wednesday and Thursday on the convention room floor. The first one with Xzibit dropped. There's also a link to the YouTube in the description. But if you also look at the link to the recap article, that interview will be there. I think we have the first half of those coming out the first part of this week. The second half will probably happen post Thanksgiving. We'll be posting those individually on LinkedIn. They'll come out quicker on YouTube, get more promotion straight on LinkedIn. But check those out. We did 10 of them. They're generally 3 to 5 question interviews, short form, something you guys, if you have a break in your day, it's like usually 3 to 6 minutes. Something easy. If you see it and you're interested in it, you can just watch it quick. We do the hour-long podcast all the time, and that's, if you're in the car, if you dedicate some time to it, maybe you listen to that and broken up in sections. The short-form stuff is just really looking to recap the events we're at and give some context to whoever we're interviewing, as well as just engaging in a conversation that's relative to the greater industry. So those are some great short form pieces. I personally feel like there's a lot of game in there. Not for me. I'm the one asking the questions. The person actually speaking, being interviewed, they're the one shedding all the game. But I love doing those interviews selfishly because I just get to get the game. I don't even care if we put it out. But if you guys are interested in learning and watching that, we're going to be dropping 10 of those over the last few weeks. We've done the same interview series at the last 2 Hall of Flowers, MJ Unpacked. Most of those are out. Some of those are still coming. We've been on the road so much. I got a lot of content still coming out. But my thoughts on Biz Con as a whole, it was massive this year. And then there's one more piece of content I got to plug in regard to MJ Biz Con. Joey and myself did a live podcast at the Hush House after party. That, if you go to the recap link, it is there. That's also on Spotify and Apple, wherever you listen to podcasts at, and it's on our YouTube. Joey and I did around a 30-minute episode live at the Hush House after party. There's music playing. That was kind of at the end of Thursday, so the end of day 2. A lot of people, myself included, went home on Friday. So it was definitely kind of that recap vibes for 30 minutes. We just talk about what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't, missed opportunities, who leveraged opportunities. It's just interesting to still see the amount of money that people spend on these booths, and then walking down a row and seeing people like face in their phone, not smiling, not engaging, nothing activating around their booth that would make me want to go over and talk to them. Still see a fair amount of that. But I will say, I can't remember what booth it was. Someone had like a corner slot. They had speakers, and they had this dude out there doing like magic and getting the crowd involved. I don't quite know what they were selling, but that definitely caught my attention, and there was a large crowd there. And I'm here for creative activations. The whole reason you have a booth is to talk to your target demographic. And here's the things. A lot of people down talk, oh, there's so much big machinery and this and that, and I don't want to care about that. Those people don't care about you. Those guys only need to make a couple sales to get their nut for the weekend. It's not about reaching everybody there. And so anyone, whether you're attending BizCon, whether you have a booth, my unsolicited main piece of advice is know your target audience. Who do you want to talk to? There's an overwhelming amount of people there, after parties there, booths there. You could easily block out 80 to 90% more of that if you just understand this is the person I want to talk to. And that doesn't mean to be rude or a dick or straight ignore people, but the only thing that you're going to commit your time or fully entertain is those things within your target market or your target goal. When you have it that narrow, makes it a lot easier to not care about the fluff. Hey, there's 10,000 people here, but I only need to close 4 of them, but maybe there's only 800 people here that fit who I want to talk to. So now you're not worried or stressed about the 10,000. You're really narrowed into your whatever couple hundred to narrow it down to your 10 or whatever it is you need to make it worth it. But even just seeing that with booths, you can't understand what a person is, qualify them, if you will, until you have that conversation. So just having conversations with anyone during MJ Biz Con, everybody's there for the cannabis industry, whether they're active or aspiring to be in the industry, everyone's there for cannabis. So it could be absolutely valuable. And so we got the recap article. It's in the link below. Interview with Xzibit. It's in the link below. And it's in the recap article along with the full podcast episode, which you can check out Spotify, Apple, all that stuff. So MJ Biz Con, man, it was a success. I'm feeling, you might hear my voice is a little lost. I know I'm not the only one whooped up, but curious how everybody else's time was there. We had a comment pop in, says somebody said, so far a few people tested positive for COVID. Man, in this day and age, any flight, any trip you do, any conference you do, it's all gonna happen, man. COVID's a part of it. So, hopefully everyone that got it's cool, resting that off. I know I'm sick because my son's is in daycare, and it's just I can't stay. You can't stop, man. You can't stop it. So no COVID for me, but just this daycare cold. Next up on news, we have the Emerald Cup announced their Harvest Ball lineup December 10th and 11th in Sonoma at the Sonoma County Fairgrounds in Santa Rosa. They've got a crazy music lineup. It's E40, Channel Tress, Fleet Mac Wood, which I was tripping out. I wasn't as familiar with that. I will admit, I thought that was a typo. Obviously Fleetwood Mac is a legendary group. I thought that was a typo. I was like, they got Fleetwood Mac and they're not. And no disrespect to 40 Water, but 40 Water's above them, man. I don't. But someone informed me. I was ignorant, didn't know it. I'm assuming maybe EDM or something like that. I'm out the loop when it comes to that line, that realm. But they announced a dope lineup. One of the dope things about the Emerald Cup is, they truly honor cannabis culture. And when you look at cannabis culture, is very closely tied to music. I had Tim and Taylor Blake both on the podcast in the past, and just talking to them, they truly understand just cannabis, and they come from cannabis as a culture. And again, knowing that the culture of cannabis is separate from music. A lot of people pigeonhole maybe rap music or reggae as a part of cannabis culture. But if people of all genres smoke cannabis, there's people out there that play and listen to classical music that smoke cannabis, right? And it helps them hear the string arrangements better or whatever. Cannabis is synonymous with music, not any one genre. And so when you look at a lineup like what the Harvest Ball is doing, for me, I see music. There's a lot of names I don't know, which probably means it's from genres I don't listen to. And it's not anything negative from my side. It's just kind of awesome to see that representation of so many tastes and genres where cannabis consumers can come celebrate music without being tied to any one genre and having something for everyone. So I think that's dope. The Blake family is continually up in the ante with the Emerald Cup and all their endeavors. And as that grows and we see larger sponsorships and larger scale events, there's still so much they're doing to honor the plant and the legacy. The Small Farms Initiative is growing this year. Check that out in the article. Next up in cannabis news, Taylor Hart, one of our amazing writers and our head editor, wrote an article on the science of cannabis edibles and why indica and sativa don't matter. So she breaks down like what happens when you inhaling cannabis versus ingesting it, and cannabinoid conversion based on consumption method. Kind of look at that. So strain specific edibles has been a thing. Indica or sativa, it always happens. And while I think some people are kind of sick of indica versus sativa in general, I think it's a great way to relate to consumers when it comes to flower or vapes or concentrates. I do think there is some level of rudimentary 101 level understanding that can be conveyed through that conversation and that marketing when it comes to edibles. I think most edibles, from my experience, are just going to kind of put you down depending on how much you take. It doesn't matter if it's sativa or indica. And I believe that's because I need to read this article a little bit more, but I've had some people on the podcast to chat about this. And so I'm curious if Taylor kind of confirmed with some of the people I've talked to, or it's conflicting. And a lot of this stuff, there isn't a ton of studies out there to kind of factually say one thing or the other. But when you eat cannabis, your body converts it, or, it gets converted through the stomach, through the liver. And so it gets converted a different way. When you smoke it, it goes straight to your bloodstream. So through that conversion process, when you spark something up, THCA converts to delta-9 THC, which produces a, intoxicating effect. But when you're eating an edible, the liver metabolizes delta-9 THC and converts it into 11-hydroxy THC. The cannabinoids have been shown to be 2 to 3 times more potent than the delta-9 version and produces a heavier body-dominant kind of high. So that's one of the things. Even if you have a sativa gummy, the way your body's going to metabolize and convert that is likely going to give that more sluggish body high as opposed to the high that you're going to get when you smoke it. But there is a group out there. We're writing an article on it, and I've had them on the podcast, Smoke and All. They're doing some crazy things with creating material that can be infused into edibles from smoke, converting the smoke rather than just the raw THC, like distillate. So what they're doing, it's under the assumptions that converting that smoke is going to give the more full spectrum, true to the smoke high that could be brought to an edible, as opposed to just the traditional process of edibles here. So check out Smoking All. We have the podcast. We chat about this actually on our podcast with them. That's on the North American Weed Tour podcast. So check that out if you're interested, or just go to their website. Andrew and Miyabi over there, super, super smart, and very much enjoyed talking to them about this. Moving on to music topics, man. One of the things that was really going crazy this week in terms of the news, I don't know if everyone was tapped into it, but I'm gonna step out of what people might pigeonhole me in, and then we'll tie it in. But Beyonce apparently has an album on the way, and so it's supposed to be the third act to her Renaissance releases, and is going to be a Jay-Z collaboration album. So obviously they did that album together a couple years ago. If you follow what happened, there was some infidelity in their marriage, and they got a lot of criticism and a lot of attention through that. And she put out an album kind of giving her perspective, and they put out a collaboration album where they're both touching on it. Jay-Z also touched on that on his solo album. So we kind of saw them talk about what they went through in the real life, working through this series of albums. But Queen B's got another album coming out. Apparently it's going to be another collab with Jay-Z. I know if Jay-Z and Beyonce are coming to Key Arena, we don't call it Climate Pledge Arena, Key Arena in Seattle, I know I'm going, man. I saw Jay-Z's last tour there. Crazy. I've yet to see Beyonce in concert, but that's top of the food chain when it comes to just the quality of performance, quality of set design. I'd look forward to that. And then obviously Beyonce and Jay, man, they got classics on the way. So anyways, there's apparently a collaboration album from them on the way. I think that'll be dope. I know Jay-Z signed like a 10-year touring deal 2 to 3 years ago. So in my opinion, he had a couple more solo tours and a Beyonce Jay-Z tour under that belt. They paid him a lot of money. So they need him to not get on road every year, because he's not doing that at age 52. But, every couple years he's going to get on road and bring a big bag home for a lot of people to split off. Second on music, Nas and Hit Boy, King's Disease 3. It's out. We talked about it last week, right as it dropped. Hadn't had much time to jump in. The song Reminisce, I'm still playing over and over. It's a fire song, and I think it really sums up the album. Is just talking about the past, the present, but not reminiscing too much. Caught reminiscing on the past, talking about how the present is way doper. If you follow Nas, he obviously is regarded as one of the best rappers of all time, made quite a pretty penny in his career. But if you look at what he's done in tech and investing the last 5 to 8 years, this man has made so much money outside of music doing that. It's nuts. And then you look at he's dropped 4 albums in 2 years, some of his best work of all time. So even nearing 50, I believe he's like 49, even nearing 50, he's talking about he doesn't want to reminisce. Today is way more lit. He's making more money. He's making arguably just as dope or better music. He's doing the thing, man. So Nas and Hit Boy, King Disease 3, check it out. Curious if you guys have heard it, if you like King Disease 1, 2, or 3 the most. Next on music, we got 2000 Baby, 2000 Different Feelings music video. 2000 Baby's an artist from out here in Seattle, where I live, making some noise, making some moves. He's been touring. He's been doing some great shows. From a new generation. I came up in the Pacific Northwest hip hop scene, and 2000 Baby is definitely a new cat, a younger cat, if you will. I'm feeling old as I say that, but really one of the main young local cats out here making a noise for himself. He's definitely on that new wave, that West Coast, that a little bit of that new school West Coast gangster stuff. Not what people my generation grew up on. But if you're feeling that, if you like anybody that Thizzler's playing, stuff like that, 2000 Baby will definitely fit the mold. I don't know, bro, personally, but we definitely have mutual friends, and people speak highly of him. Next up, Portland rapper Milc releases his 3rd album of 2022. So it's not just Nas who's working, man. We got local artists out here grinding and working. 3 albums in a single year as an independent artist, that's a lot. If people don't really need to understand what it takes to, whether if you're making the beats, that's a lot of beats to make. If you're buying beats, even if you're buying them at small local prices or online, that's still a lot of money. Artwork, mixing, mastering, distribution, putting it out and promoting it. 3 albums in a year, that's a lot of money and a lot of time. We don't see major artists who have team and budgets do that. So seeing a local guy, Milc from Portland, shout out Milc, man. And then Taylor Hart, wrote a recap on that. And anytime T Money puts the pen to paper or her fingers to the keystrokes, it's going to be a fire write up, man. She's, that's our best writer. Again, I'm always going to give flowers where they're due. Taylor Hart, RMR can't run without her. But she's also our best writer. So if she's writing something, man, it's definitely, if you're into hip hop, check it out. She'll put you onto something dope, but she'll also write about it in a super dope way. Anyways, that's what we got for this week's Morning Joint. As always, all of these topics are covered in our newsletter that should be in your inbox as of 9/15 this morning. If you're not subscribed, shoot us an email, info@respectmoreregion.com, or tap in. We'll make sure you get subscribed. Every Monday morning, we're running the latest in cannabis and music topics in your inbox, and then we're running it live on the Morning Joint. Mitch Pfeifer, respectmoreregion.com. Hope everyone's ready to have a safe and productive and chill holiday this week. We'll be back next week. See you guys.